I'm an illustrator in 12-step recovery. I go by the name 12Drawings. In the Big Book of AA, which was written in the 1930s, the author, Bill Wilson, includes a set of promises during the 9th step that have become known among the recovery groups as the 12 promises. And for each of the promises, I picked a word that I thought was key to understanding that promise. And this promise 2, which is we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it, I felt basically the most important word for me in that was the word past. So I looked it up in a dictionary that actually dated back to when the 12 steps were written, 1934 Webster's dictionary. Their definition at the same time the Big Book was being written was the past is a noun for a former state or time. That didn't really surprise me. So this was one of the cases where in doing my drawings, I had often had to resort to prayer and meditation for any kind of idea of what to draw. But in this case, it came fairly quickly to me because there's someone I knew, probably a grandparent, or someone who reminded me of my grandparent, whose house was very old-fashioned, probably hadn't changed much since the Big Book was written, but somewhere on the wall, I remember the wallpaper pattern was so old that you could actually see the outline of an old fancy clock that had been hanging on that wall probably since the house was built. And at some point, that old clock stopped working, got lost. They gave it away, I don't know. But once it was gone, its impression remained on the wall vividly. But as grandparents do, they're practical people. They still need to know what time it is. So someone bought them an electric clock and they plugged it into the wall, and it now keeps time exactly where that old clock used to. What is the spiritual message for me? The past is very different than the present. That's often true. I know it's true for me. And I may think the past was better. I may think the past is worse. I don't know what you think, but I believe these were people who felt comfortable knowing the past was gone. They didn't paint this over, but it reminded them of something that they probably had once loved very much. And they still needed to know they were in the modern times and had a clock up. But the message to me was, everything is where I live. Every part of me, past, present, and future, is me. I don't have to paint over my past. I don't have to get a bigger clock to try to hide it. I could just accept that things are different now, and that's a blessing for me. I no longer have to live in a terror that the past will catch up with me or that I need to shut the door on it in order to feel comfortable with it. You can read more at 12drawings.com. Thanks again for visiting the site.